All right, let's not beat around the bush. I've had a stinker, boys. Absolute stinker. And much like this team here, I will be retiring this hat as well because that team's a joke. And last week, my team was a joke. So, look, 479, pretty bad, pretty bad. Down 270 spots, so back down to 385. And I sort of said that it was pretty volatile still. It's only week 5, so one good week, one bad week, you can jump up, or you can fall pretty bad. So, I mean, there's the glaring mistake. I captained Taylor Heineke. Thought it was a big brain play to captain a quarterback or whatever. Still captained the wrong one. Should have just stuck to Hurts. But yeah, I don't know why I didn't just captain Derek again. Played the Jags and scored fucking 2 or 3 touchdowns again, and it just should have stuck to that. But oh well, we move. And even look, Trevor Lawrence on the bench scored 44, so he's ticking along all right. But yeah, not much you can do. I still think captaining a quarterback's a right play. Maybe just not Heineke is as trustworthy as you would like. But anyway, we move. It's all right. Used both trades last week, and I brought in Cordell Patterson. Just thought the Jets matchup was pretty good, and his break even was negative 30 or something, so he was sort of guaranteed to rise anyway. And he scores almost 30, and he didn't get in the end zone as well. So which I thought he should have. He almost did once or twice. But there's not much you can do there. And the other trade, I traded Tyson Williams to Gainwell. Look, in hindsight, it may not mean too much, but at least Gainwell is sort of guaranteed to get some playing time, even though he didn't put up a good score, which we will need for next week's bye. So sort of just planning ahead for that. The quarterbacks sort of mentioned already. Heineke, poor game, and Hurts sort of just keeps ticking along as he does. I think he hasn't gone under 40 yet, so been a good pick, and we'll keep him for much while longer. Derek, as I said, had a big one. Sort of a must-have at the moment. He's running back one clearly, and doesn't look like slowing down. I don't know when or how old he'll be when he does, but for right now, this man is still kicking. Zeke, I think he's RB3 or 4. Been a great pick. Obviously, week 1 was disappointing, but we sort of expected it against Tampa, and since then he's been awesome. I think he's scored every week as well, and a couple of games with 2. Aaron Jones has been pretty disappointing. Just simple fact, he hasn't found the end zone, so he's sort of getting a 20, 25, 30. But when you don't score, it sort of hurts your score a bit. As you can see in the last couple of weeks, I said Eckler was the other guy that I was thinking about, but didn't go him. And of course, he's went absolutely nuts, and he's running back 2, I think. So not much you can do. Eckler does still have the really crappy bye next week, which if I got him would have been 3 running backs, which you can't even trade around. So look, still stick by the call, and I think Jones will turn it around at some point. It's just that obviously when Eckler goes nuts for the 2 weeks, when you're thinking about him, and what's worse is I was starting him until the hamstring injury week 1 or leading into week 1, so that just makes it all worse. But anyway, not much you can do. Devontae Adams he's going to work himself back into wide receiver 1 at some point. I think he's 2 or 3 at the moment, but yeah, him and Rodgers after that poor week 1 have got it going, and they're pretty unstoppable. Tyreek, another pretty poor game, and the Chiefs in general, 2-3 now. I think they are. They haven't been too flash of late. Paddy's still putting up reasonable scores as a quarterback because it's a bit easier to score. But Tyreek, yeah, he had a couple of nuclear games, but that's 3 now. Really, really down games. I know 22 is not terrible, but you still expect a little bit more from him. And I think he got a bit of an injury, a bit of a knee injury during the game as well. So we'll have to monitor that. I think he'll get up and play, but it's just something to watch. Cup, after bringing him in, a bit disappointing. Hasn't found the end zone either since bringing him in. But the Rams schedule, I'll just get it up quickly. They got the Giants this week, they'll put up 50 against us. Then they got Detroit, then they got the Texans, and they got Tennessee, who's not flash either, and then even San Fran's secondary is pretty average as well. So really nice matchups coming up for the Rams. So yeah, he'll be fine and he'll get going back again like he was the first 3 weeks. Terry, I mean, when Heineke has a poor day, sort of so is he. So um, yeah, disappointing, but I think they get the Chiefs this week, which normally you'd think that's a bad matchup, but that's a really good matchup. People have been going absolutely insane on the Chiefs defense this year, so I'm actually looking forward to that. And I think as you've got it set up here, I'll have the VC on Hertz for tomorrow and the C on Heineke as sort of a backup. Diggs. Oh, what's going on here? He just cannot find the end zone. It's going to Sanders, Dawson Knox, whoever else but him. So I think, look, he's obviously lost a lot of cash, but I'm not really going to cash out of him now. I think he has the pretty average buy next week, but I'll have sort of Cordell back, and I'm okay fielding Devonta Smith for that 1 week, and then these matchups are just I can't see how he doesn't turn it around with even Tennessee this week, who aren't great on defense. Miami, Tom Brady just lit them up for 40 points or something. The Jags, crap. Jets, crap. So I think he will turn it around at some point. He needs to start finding the end zone. But they do have a lot of weapons now, the Bills. I mean, they always sort of did, but last year it was sort of still a funnel down Diggs, but he's sort of spreading it out a bit more now, Joshy Allen. So I'm still not going to get rid of him. He was so insane last year that I think he can get back to that at some point. Hopefully it's soon. Who else? Yeah, so Cordell did play. Sorry, he's got the bye there for this week, but yeah, already sort of spoke about him. And I think I'll sort of keep him for the short-term future. He's still got a negative break-even, so he can, still get up to 10, 11, 12 mil, obviously depending how he goes. They get Miami after the bye and then Carolina, who's pretty good defense. So, look, we'll see how he goes, and then you can just sort of flip him to a proven sort of primo. Kelsey, just a sort of standard Kelsey game. Got a touchdown, I believe. So he's clear tight end one, as I've sort of said. And everyone knows this anyway, but there really isn't a standout tight end two right now. Ever since bringing Hawkinson in after the first 2 good weeks, he's absolutely shut the bed. Just can't find a target. I don't know what's going on there. It's DeAndre Swift or nobody. So yeah, hopefully that turns around. But the thing is, I can't really see anyone to trade him to, and the fact that I've got Pitts as 44 sitting there on the bench pisses you off. But that's more of enough reason for me to not really need to bother trading in this area when I can just sort of field by matchup. Atlanta got a good matchup. I'll field Pitts and sort of vice versa, and just see what happens with the Hawk over the next few weeks. But it's not great signs. And even bloody Evan McPherson, mate, what's going on with him? That game was just ridiculous. About 5 missed field goals in the last 2 minutes. But just solid sort of numbers. I mean, it's a kicker. You can't predict how many field goals a team's going to attempt per week. It's just sort of a stupid thing. But annoyingly, and one of my mates has him, Greg Joseph, who I think was similar starting price. So he's raised 2.6 on the year. What does he start at? Yeah, he started about 2.8. And he's just gone, he had a 2 in there, but 26, then 34 last week. Just a bit annoying when someone can get way more points out of a kicker than what ours is producing. But again, I'm not going to trade there. If he's playing, he's playing. Unless he gets cut, which I don't think he will. They picked him in the draft just the year just gone. So they'll stick with him, but yeah, a bit annoying. And the defense is, again, I don't really want to trade in this area. The Broncos have been a bit disappointing the last 2 weeks. They did have 3 great matchups to open, so they're obviously always going to score, fairly decently in those. But Baltimore, it's probably fair enough. You can't stop them. That offense is pretty good, on the ground. But Pittsburgh, Big Ben. I mean, to lose that game, number one, but to let Big Ben put up, 27 points or whatever after the year he's had is pretty disappointing. They get the Raiders this week, and then Cleveland, Washington. So look, I'll give them 1 more week. I'll see how they go against the Raiders. Never really looked at their break even. Yeah, so it's 34, so they're going to drop quite a bit. And sort of what I was leaning into with Cup, the only one I would look at, because I'm not spending up on the Bills, that'd just be silly. The Cardinals, you wouldn't get this week against Cleveland, but they have pretty sure, yeah, Houston, but then Green Bay, so it's not the best. But the one would be, if I can find them, they haven't scored too great as of late, would be the Rams, So you can sort of just hold off if you've got other trades to make this week. But the Rams are very cheap, and they're a good defense. They've just come up against some pretty decent teams in Tampa. Fair enough. Arizona, they got beaten pretty easily. Fair enough, putting up a pretty poor score, but 14 against Seattle, not bad. But yeah, the matchup again, Giants this week, Lions, Houston, Tennessee. Like, there's some pretty good matchups coming up. Jacksonville in there again. And yeah, that's a decent sort of slate of games to be coming up. San Fran, you're not trading at this price, and you're not really going to bother. They got the Jags in there who you can field against, stuff like that. I don't really want to be trading in this area. Like I said, you sort of want to stick to getting, your quarterbacks, your running backs, and, shoring up. You've got the good wide receivers to this point. So, yeah, I'll leave it for now, but Rams might be an option, just depending on what happens next week. So this week, obviously, the buys are starting. So, yeah, 4 teams, pretty irrelevant teams mostly. The Saints only have Kamara. I would imagine people have the Falcons, of course, Pitts and Cordell, and I don't think anyone else would have any others. Ridley, was one, but we got rid of him since he missed last week. The Jets, again, probably only Zach Wilson. And then the 49ers, you might have Kittle or something, but I would doubt it by now. And maybe Debo, if you got Debo in. You probably would know already that he's missing this week. So that's it. That's the buys are starting. The next week's a big one with the 8 teams. And I went through them all last week. So just again, the Bills, Chargers, Cowboys, Jags, Steelers, Vikings. Sorry, it's 6 teams, but 4 pretty big teams that a few of us are buying players, and it's mostly the running backs. I've got Zeke, got Najee. You might have Eckler. Ones like that. So, yeah, just be mindful of it. Don't sort of go into a week where you can't even trade and cop a donut or something. So just make sure you're monitoring that. This week I'm just going to field Devonta. They got Tampa Bay, and Tampa Bay secondary isn't great. So he looked good last week, or the last 2 against the Chiefs secondary too. They went all right. So yeah, I'm happy fielding Devonta for 1 week against Tampa. And Hurts I'll be VCing heading in. I don't really need to trade this week. TJ is probably the big one that's been pretty poor of late. But I'm set up pretty nicely for next week. So just a quick look at some break evens. Najee's still in the negative, so he still could go up a mil this week with a good performance. But so people will have to sit next week at Zeke and Najee. Diggs, I'll have to sit, but Cordell will be back, and so I'll be fielding Devonta again. Excuse me. But then it'll start looking at getting rid of Heineke. His break even's 9. See how he goes this week. He might go very well again, and his break even's still low. So even with once it got a 37, it'll still be 9 again, and then it might start creeping up then. So got to start looking at what QBs are at what price and how they're coming down. So Paddy with a poor score, poor by standards, put it that way. 40 gets his break even. It looks 52, which is obviously attainable for him. But then Kyler's the big one. 73, 27 last week, and now it's 73 break even, and he's got Cleveland, who are, a fairly tough defense to an extent. Obviously, they had the massive shootout against the Chargers last week, so maybe that's just against teams sort of below them. But look, Herbert's insane. He can sort of cook anyone. But yeah, definitely one for me to watch. Then they get Houston, and they get Green Bay. Secondary's not great. San Fran. Some pretty good matchups in there, but Kyler would be one I'll be looking at. Drops just another average score this week, 49. He's down to 16, 15, mil, and that's very attainable. I can actually almost do that in I can even get him now. So yeah, I'll still hold off for 1 more week. Let Kyler drop some more, and then I think he'll be the one I'll snap up next week to get my first primo in. at the quarterback position. And that's really it. I don't think there's too much else to go on. I'll quickly just show, just for those who want to know, some break evens of some players. Big ones. Look, yeah, probably a talking point. CMC should be back this week, but he's got a huge break even, so he's one just to watch. Because I mean, I know we know what he can do, but it's just the injuries are sort of starting to catch up to him. Although they're completely unrelated, a shoulder, an ankle sprain, and then obviously the hammy this year. They're sort of ones that aren't, you wouldn't call him injury prone just yet anyway. But yeah, definitely just see how he comes, see how he goes, sorry, when he comes back. Other guys, not really anyone. Aaron Jones is starting to creep up, 59. But I still think he can turn it around. Even Cups is quite high. That's just because he went so sort of nuts at the start. But again, those matchups are really good. I wouldn't be bothered about that. Same as Kelsey, wouldn't be bothered too much by those. Low guys. So Tyrod would be the guy. So if I go Heineke to Kyler, then at the same time Trev might cap out. That's sort of his price, depending how he goes, of course. But Tyrod would be probably my preferred downgrade. He might be back, in a couple of weeks. And it's probably him over. I mean, look, Lance. I don't think Lance is going to be starting when Jimmy G's healthy, so we'll just have to monitor that. But yeah, Tyrod will definitely be my go. But yeah, Trev's sort of kicked his cash gen back into gear with a couple of good weeks, so he's still got a little bit more to make. How much more, we'll see. But I think Tyrod was a good downgrade option in a couple of weeks. People might ask about Gino. He's probably not going to be on this list, but yeah, I don't know how much I trust a guy that's only started, I think, 3 games in about 6 years or something. He's just been a backup most of his career, and I always say if he's a backup for a reason. Whereas Tyrod's had a lot of starting jobs. He's lost them for stupid reasons like unlucky injury, or he copped it. He lost a job to Baker. He copped a concussion. I know they drafted Baker, probably always going to play him in the end. Same as Herbert last year. He cops a bloody jab to the heart or the lungs, and collapse his lung, and then Herbert comes in and dominates. Look, he's probably going to lose those jobs anyway, but the fact that he was at the team as a starter, he's trusted a lot more. So, and he looked good the start of the year. Even on probably the worst team in the league, he looked pretty good. There is Tony there as well, who's already had a price rise, who just played absolutely out of his mind last week. But he's probably one you don't need to get in. He's not like going to make an absurd amount of money to where we require him. So yeah, that's pretty much it. As usual, I will show you how I went in my home fantasy league. Still undefeated. Sort of Sam Darnold played early, pretty poor. Damien Harris, he found the end zone but fumbled it and didn't get a touch after that. Robbie Woods, the first game of the week, finally got used. 12 catches, 150 yards, beautiful. Higbee found the end zone, but I think he was injured for most of the game. And then we got to Sunday, and I think most of my guys, I think CD played early, just fairly standard, good CD game. But then that late window, Eckler, 3 touchdowns. He had about 2 in a minute. AB went absolutely nuts for a couple as well. And then that last game on the Monday night or Tuesday for us, Lamar just went absolutely bonkers second half. He's done this about 4 times now, probably 3, but sort of just teasing, that KC game was probably the other one where they were looking shot at half time, and he sort of made the huge comeback. So, just the weapons the weapon he is, and how he can just dictate a defense. Like, they can't play him. They can't play him one way or the other, because he's gonna eat you up either way. And his connection with Andrews in the second half was absolutely absurd. So yeah, I'm sitting pretty nice here. I picked up Tony actually off the waiver wire last week, which was good. He was on my bench. So I got a few on by. I've got some Niners. Lance probably not ever going to make my team. We'll see. But Ayuk and Callaway on the bye. So yeah, a few sit-start decisions. But Tony I've got in there now just because I think we'll have no one else. I think Kenny G's out and whatnot. So he'll probably be the number. And even with Saquon outside, he'll be used behind line of scrimmage, stuff like that. So I think he'll get quite a few touches. and still got Monty on IR. So that's it, guys. Thanks for watching. As always, tweet me, whatever. I'll reply when I can. And also, I tweeted before. I'll probably maybe look at doing a SportsDeck NBA videos as well, just for something to do. I haven't done it before, but it's, pretty much the same setup as super. Pick your teams is what I've got right now. But again, more research will have to be done. It's week by week, like we do with all these fantasies. But NBA is usually a daily thing, but this is still ends at the start of each week. You make 3 trades, you get 3 every week, so you sort of don't run out. There you go, you get 69. So nice, but you sort of got to see what teams have got. Teams will have either 2, 3, 4, or sometimes even 5 games in a week, and obviously you want to maneuver your primos around what teams have got the most games. But anyway, I'll get into that if I make a video. But yeah, let me know, and you might see one of them next week. All right. Cheers.